In today's new to Pilates class, we're going to be focusing on internal and external rotation, which might not sound very interesting off the bat, but these are incredibly important movements for our body. Not only does internal and external rotation work different muscle fibers of a larger muscle group, but it's also a really important movement in lubricating the joint. So if I'm going to take my arm and do some internal and external rotation, I'm lubricating my shoulder joint, which is really important for movement. Joints like lubrication. They need it to stay healthy. And bones, the heads of the bones that connect into those joints, need lubrication to stay healthy. If we lose some of that oil that we're building up with our movement, then the bone can become dried out, and that can lead to problems like osteoporosis, which we would very much like to avoid. So again, while internal and external rotation might not seem like the most exciting topic for a class, I guarantee you are still going to work in this class. I think you're really going to enjoy the movement and find it really helpful to learn exactly what your body can do in those positions. And we are also going to be loading it up. So you do need a pair of light weights for this class. Go ahead and grab a pair of 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound weights, or a couple cans of chickpeas, if that's what you have on hand, and I will see you on the mat. All right, we are going to begin on our hands and knees, and we are actually going to be spending quite a bit of time on our hands and knees. So if there are any wrist issues that you may be having, you can take your mat and you can double it up, placing your palms on the edge of the mat, and the fingers can relax over the mat. Or you can come onto your forearms at any point. You can go to fists, or if you have a small step stool, or not a step stool, but a footstool, you can place that footstool and go onto your forearms, and then that will work just as well. So if you need those options, I'll offer them throughout our 4-point meal work, but just keep those in mind. We're going to start on the hands and knees, and we're going to begin with our kneeling hinges. I have my legs in parallel, and I'm going to hinge my bum back in space and forward. So I'm widening through my sit bones, gently engaging my abdominal muscles. And I'm starting in parallel because that's typically where we find our legs, the position of the bones. We work a lot in parallel and external rotation in Pilates. We don't always work in internal rotation, but we are definitely exploring that movement today. From here, I'm going to turn my legs out. So my feet are going to come closer together, and my knees are going to be further apart, and I'm going to do the same kneeling hinge. So like I said in the introduction, it's important to be able to lubricate all parts of the bone that connects into the joint. In this case, my femur head. I want to lubricate that femur head in parallel, in turned out, and in an internal rotation. And we're going to look at that in just a moment. Let's do one more external rotated hinge, hip hinge. And then I'm going to internally rotate. So now I'm going to bring my knees together. And if I turn toward you, my knees are going to look like this. They don't need to touch. They can be apart. But I do want to have that internal rotation. My feet are further apart now. And then I'm going to gently move. Now this is the stickiest of the 3 positions because we don't typically live in internal rotation. So if it feels a little sticky or grippy or pinchy around the pubic joint, work within a range that doesn't take you to that pinchy place or that kind of grinding place. Be kind to yourself. Listen to your body, and we're going to do this one more time. From here, we're going to come back to parallel, and we are going to focus on the elbows. So when I'm in a 4-point kneel, my elbows naturally want to turn directly out, out to the side. What I want you to practice here is you can see that my elbow is pointing out toward the camera. I'm going to keep my hand where it is, but I'm going to rotate my elbows back. So you can see now my elbows are facing the end of my mat. And I'm going to let that release. and I'm going to rotate my elbows back and let that release. So again, I still have a little bit of tummy support. I'm really working on rotating the humerus bone and my ulna and my radius bones between the wrist and the shoulder joint. So my hands are not shifting. I'm not turning my hands out as I do this. I'm really trying to keep it to just my arm bones. And then I'm going to come back to the way my arms normally are and do my scapula glides from here. So my elbows are pointing out. I'm going to draw the shoulder blades together and press them apart, and draw them together and press them apart. We're going to do a couple more like this, and I just want you to notice what's happening in your body as you do it, how it feels. One more time. And then I'm going to turn my elbows back to the back of my mat and do my scapula glides again from here. Just seeing how that feels. Inhaling and exhaling with ease. Core remains active, 2, and 1. Now, I like having my elbows turned back. I feel like I am engaging underneath my armpit more. So I feel like I'm more stable there. But if it feels better for you to let those elbows go, listen to what your body needs. We're going to be here a little longer. If you need to wrap that mat up to place them under your wrists, go to fists or come to forearms. Now's the time to do it. All right, we're going to focus on the legs now. I'm going to bring my leg closest to the camera up into a little donkey kick position. I'm going to externally rotate my leg, so my knee is going to point out toward you, and then I'm going to rotate my leg back to parallel. I am engaging my deep hip flexors to help that movement happen. I'm working very hard not to sink into my supporting leg. And again, 2, I don't want to drop my floating leg, so my glute is very active here. 2 more. 1 more time, turning the leg out, back to parallel. Now, I'm going to bring the leg down in parallel and engage my donkey kick up for 5. And 4, feeling that movement in parallel, 3, feeling how the glute engages for 2. And 1, I'm going to hold that there, turn my leg out. Now, as I lower my leg down, I'm going to keep my turn out and my ankles are going to cross, and I'm going to lift my leg. Keep that turn out. Ankle cross and up. So it's not a fire hydrant. The fire hydrant exercise is more to the side. This is more on a diagonal. 2 more. Can you feel a little bit of different glute activation there? And then come on, back up one last time, back to parallel and down. We are not done on this side yet. If you need a little break for your wrists, take it. I'm going to move to fists, but I'm still going to point my elbows back as much as I can. This time, I'm going to extend that same leg out long, taking a breath in, pulling the abdominals in for support, lifting and lowering that leg. And 2, I'm staying tall on my supporting leg. And 1 more time, I'm going to stay up there. Pause. I'm going to turn my leg out slightly. From here, I'm going to tap it down on a slight diagonal and lift it back up. I'm just allowing my leg to follow the natural trajectory of the turnout. 3, 2, and 1. Back to parallel. Bend the leg in. And we do have to do this on the other side. So give yourself a moment. And I'm going to turn around so you can still see my legs very clearly. And we're going to start with bringing the leg up into that donkey kick position, pausing there and finding that internal and external rotation. So I'm turning the leg out and I'm coming back to parallel. Turning it out and parallel. And again. One more time, staying tall on my supporting leg, pulling my abdominals in, back to parallel, lowering the leg down, engaging my glute, bringing it back up. lowering it down and up and down and up. 2 more. 1 more. Pause. Turn that leg out. Try to keep your hips square to the floor. Lower, cross those ankles, lift it up. Finding glute release, glute engagement. Glute release, glute engagement. And 2 more. 1 more. Back to parallel. Lower that leg down. Take a moment for your wrists if you need it. When you're ready, we're going to pull those abdominals in. Check those elbows. Did they lose their rotation back? Send the leg out. Here we go. We're going to lift and lower in parallel. 1. Just 5 of them. 2. Stay strong on your supporting leg. 3. 4. We're going to hold that leg up for 5. Turn it out. Follow the natural angle of the leg to lower and lift. It'll naturally go on a slight diagonal. 2 more here. Can you feel the side of that bone working a little harder? 1 more time. Up. Rotate to parallel. Bring that leg back in. Send yourself back for a well-deserved child's pose. Let those arms rest for a moment. Whew. A little bit of full body work to start us off. We are going to come up to sitting. All right. I'm just going to sit on my bum, but bring my hands behind me, and I'm going to place my legs in a fairly wide position here. I'm going to start by allowing my legs to fall inward toward each other, and then out. In and out. It's almost like I'm doing a really big double knee drop, but I'm lubricating the hip joint, internal and external rotation. 1 more time. And now I'm going to send my legs in the same direction. So I'm going to go toward the camera, both legs, one's turning out, one's turning in, and then the other way. One turns out, one turns in, and going the other direction. So again, just lubricating through that hip joint. We're going to go into some half rollbacks in a minute, and we're going to see what that feels like with an internally rotated leg. We do not do half rollbacks with internally rotated legs. We'll see how it feels. All right, so you can bring the legs a little closer together, but I do want them to still be wider than you would normally have them for half rollbacks. We're going to let those knees fall toward each other, reach the arms out tall, or out in front of you. Take a breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to scoop through my tummy muscles, rolling off of my sit bones, and I'm squeezing my knees just gently together. Exhale, come back up. I'm going to do that again. Take a breath in. Exhale. Breath in. Exhale. Coming back up. Breath in. Exhale, rolling tailbone to pubic bone to belly button. Seeing how that feels. Does it feel good? Does it feel not great? We're only going to do 1 more time. Hopefully, because we've lubricated it, it feels okay. But we're going to go into external rotation now. So you can bring your feet a little closer together, have more of a natural diamond shape with the legs. Here we go. Take your breath in. On the exhale, we are scooping. Ooh, way more space. Take a breath. Exhale, roll back up. Inhale, breath in. Exhale. Breath in, exhale. Feel how that's a little different. 1 more time like this. Breath in, exhale. Let's stay there. Let's take a breath in. We're going to stay in our curl. Exhale, bring one leg up. Inhale it down. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. 1 more time. Exhale. Inhale, breath in. Exhale, roll up and arms down. Now, if you have weights close by, you can use them for this particular exercise, but you absolutely do not need to use weights. I'm going to send my legs nice and long, but you can absolutely have the legs slightly bent depending on how you're feeling. And I'm going to come on a slight angle because my lovely table here prevents me from full range of movement. Arms are out, little rotation. I'm going to rotate my head, my collarbone, my rib cage, and I'm going to come back to center. I am going to bend my legs just to be a bit more comfortable. Other side, head and collarbone and rib cage, losing a little space and coming back. So my arms are naturally externally rotated here with my palms up. We're going to change that in a minute. Head and collarbone and rib cage. Now we're going to rotate head and collarbone and rib cage and pause. Internally rotate, externally rotate. Little rotator cuff work here. And 3, and 2, and 1. I'm going to rotate back to center. I'm going to do this on the other side. Head and collarbone and rib cage, and rotate. Internally rotate and open. Internally and externally rotate. And 2. Last one here, bonus one. Woo! Come on back and lower those arms down. Excellent. We're going to keep those weights and lie ourselves down on the floor. All right. If you would like to put something underneath your head, you are more than welcome to. I think I'm going to keep my head just where it is for right now. And I'm going to take my light weights in hand. Bringing my arms up. First thing I'm going to do is let my shoulders feel nice and heavy in the shoulder joint. Easy breaths. And I'm just going to begin to gently externally and internally rotate. So this is my rotator cuff again. Feels a little less stressful this time around than the other exercise. Gravity's playing a little differently. And now I'm going to slowly start to open that internal and external rotation as I open my arms to the side. Now I'm not going to touch the floor. I'm going to start to come back up. I've got a little bit of tummy and core support here. Internal and external rotation. And again. I like loading up, not with this crazy heavy weight, just a 2 or 3 pound weight. I like to load up the joints. It's really important to load the joints because we need that lubrication, but also we load our joints every day when we pick up something heavy, with our movements. So we want to load the joints because that's part of our daily living activities. And I think it's really important, especially with these little guys like the rotator cuff muscles, to load those guys to get them strong because the shoulder joint is such a mobile joint. We want to make sure that our connective tissue within that joint is strong. So I'm going to turn my palms down toward my feet. This is typically considered like a more neutral position. I'm just going to internally rotate the arms, and by doing so, I'm just turning my palms to face each other. Taking a breath in, I'm going to bring my arms back behind me and exhale as I come back up. We're going to do 4 of those. Inhaling back and exhaling up. Inhaling back. See how that feels in the body. One last time, inhaling back. Exhaling. Now, I'm going to externally rotate my arms. So my palms are going to be facing out now. As I take my breath in to go back, I'm going to be opening my arms on a slightly larger V shape. Exhale. To accommodate the movement or the position of my arms. So I'm in a slightly wide V. Do you feel the muscles activating a little differently with that external rotation? One more time, inhaling and exhaling. I'm going to bring the arms back to neutral, palms facing the floor. Back to an internal rotation, palms facing each other. Let's open the arms wide to the side, big letter T. Exhale. 4 of these, 3 more, inhale. Exhale. 2 more. Exhale. 1 more time. Exhale. I'm going to turn my palms out now, external rotation, same exercise. Lower the arms down, exhale back up. Inhale. Exhale. Does that feel a little different? Inhale. Exhale. We do not normally put our hands in this position or our arms in this position for this work. Last one, inhale. Exhale. Turn the palms to face the floor. We're going to go to that, we're going to actually keep the palms facing the floor for this one. We're going to take our breath in, keeping our hands where they are. On the exhale, we're going to lower them down. So this is more internal rotation for this particular movement. Inhale, the arms up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Last one, exhale. Inhale. Now I'm going to externally rotate. So my palms are going to face back. And I'm going to lower on my exhale. Inhale back up. Exhale. Inhale up. Can you feel the muscles activate a little differently? And up. Last one here. Inhale up. And you can just bend those elbows and move those weights aside for right now. Focusing back on the legs. I'm going to take my leg closer to the camera. Exhaling as I bring it up. And I'm going to do a little waving flag with it. I'm going to just turn the leg out and in. And you can use your hands to help you out here if you'd like. Just a little bit of gentle guidance through that thigh bone. But I am kind of waving a flag here, allowing my knee to turn out and turn in. The shin is just going to follow that movement gently. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn the leg out and cross my ankle over my knee of my supporting leg. Keeping that cross, I'm going to engage through my deep lateral rotators here on the side of my bum. And I'm going to gently externally rotate my leg and then allow it to release. Engaging the glute. Seeing where that movement takes me as my thigh bone turns out, and then letting it release. Now, what's really important to note here is that I'm not just pushing my knee. I'm not forcing the movement from my knee to make it happen. The movement is truly coming from my glute, from my hip joint. So check in with yourself there. Are you pushing from your knee, which is going to cause a lot of pressure, be very uncomfortable? Or are you finding that glute engagement, and even if the movement is small, you're still working from that glute? We're going to do one more time like this, exhaling and inhaling. You're going to take a breath in. On the exhale, we're going to bring your supporting leg up to tabletop, keeping the leg connected to the knee. Take a breath in. Toe taps. 1. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale. And 2 more. 1 more. Bonus to come down. Then the leg that is crossed, I am bringing it up through tabletop to extension, and we're going to look at our leg circles from here. So with leg circles, there is movement of internal and external rotation of the thigh bone. So I'm going to start to bring my leg toward my midline. And then as I bring my leg down and it starts to open up to the side, I want you to notice how the leg will slightly turn out. As I cross my midline and bring my leg in, my thigh bone naturally internally rotates. And then it naturally externally rotates. And we want to find that very subtle movement. So normally we do our leg circles pretty quickly and we lose the nuance of this movement. We're going to do one more time in this direction, but it's really nice to allow the leg, the thigh bone, to naturally move the way it's meant to. Let's go the other way. So there's going to be a slight external rotation. Then as I cross my midline, my leg will slightly internally rotate as I lift it. And 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lowering the leg down. You do all that on the other side. I'm going to cross my ankle. Oh, sorry. We actually start with our waving flag. That baby brain is real. Okay, so here's our little waving flag. Okay. Allowing that lubrication. Then I'm going to cross the foot over the ankle, or the ankle over the knee, engaging from my glute, finding that little external rotation, and then let it release. External rotation, and let it release. And 3. Exhale, 4. Exhale, 5. We'll just do this one more time for 6. Take a breath in. On the exhale, bring your leg up. Breath in to prepare. Here's my 5 toe taps. Exhaling, 5. Inhale up. Exhale, 4. Try to keep that upper body quiet for 3. And 2. And 1. Bonus one to come down. Bringing my leg through tabletop to extension. Here's my 5 circles. Slow those circles down, crossing the midline. Feel how the bone naturally rotates within the hip joint. Little external rotation, little internal rotation. Little external rotation, little internal rotation. 3 more. It's kind of nice to just enjoy the way that your body will naturally move. 1 more time in this direction. And then we have to reverse it. So the leg is naturally going to open, externally rotate slightly, and internally rotate. Whew, it's a mouthful. And allowing that natural movement of the thigh bone. 2 more. 1 more time. Bend that leg through tabletop and come on down. All right. Well, of course, we need to do our side lying work. We will start lying down with our classic Pilates clams. This is probably one of the more iconic external rotation exercises in Pilates. Make sure that top hip is reaching long and the feet are in line with the bum. Taking a breath in, on the exhale, find that glute engagement that we had when our ankle was crossed over the knee, and then let the leg come down, release it. Externally rotate, find that glute, and come on back down. And again. And down. And again. And down. Let's do 3 more. And 2. We're going to stay up at the top and go into some pulses just for funsies. So we're coming halfway down and we're lifting up for 5 and for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to come down. Now that is our external rotation. We are internally rotating the leg now. My knees are together. I'm going to flex my foot here to protect my knee. As I engage my glute, I'm going to go up on a slightly back diagonal. So I feel like I'm going to try to touch the top part of my table behind me. So I'm still engaging my glute, inhaling it down, exhaling it up, inhaling it down. I want to try to maintain the internal rotation of my thigh bone throughout this lift. So I want you to be very careful that you don't start going into this, where you can see my leg starts going to parallel. 2 more here. Keep the internal rotation. Maintain the diagonal. We're going to stay here and pulse it for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and then down, but we're not going to drop the leg. We're going to engage through the glute, and I'm going to turn my leg out, touch my heels together, turn my leg in, touch my knees. External rotation, internal rotation, external rotation, internal rotation. Woo. Feeling that work. Call these little dolphins because it always reminds me of dolphin fins going up and down in the water. Feel that internal and external rotation for 4. 1 more. And then you can lower that leg down. Whew, feeling a little warmth in that joint. We're going to come up onto the forearm. I'm going to take my top leg and place it behind my bottom leg, stretching that bottom leg out. So just working the obliques a little bit here. Why not? I'm going to flex my foot and do a little lift and lower with that bottom leg. So this is finding not so much the internal rotation. I'm not necessarily turning my leg out of parallel, but I am still lubricating the joint on, or the bone on the innermost part of it because of that lift. I'm just not adding the rotation into it. 2, we're going to stay up here, holding that there. I'm going to continue to lubricate that innermost portion of my femur bone by gently gliding my leg in and out. It's almost like a little side kick, but for the inner thigh. So you can imagine you're sliding your foot along a table. And let's do this for 3, 2, 1. Point the foot. I'd be remiss if we didn't add some circles in there. So let's add some circles. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're reversing that. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we are going to come back down. Both legs are long. Out they go. I'm going to lift the top leg up and I'm going to internally and externally rotate. So we're going to think here of that key in the lock, right? The key is what rotates. The lock stays pretty quiet. So my thigh bone is going to rotate, but my pelvis is going to stay nice and supported through my pelvic breath, my core breath. I'm going to keep the legs slightly turned out, and we're going into our smiles. So again, feel the internal and external rotation. As I bring my leg forward and back, there's a natural movement that happens in my thigh bone. The leg comes forward and it turns out slightly. The leg goes back and it turns in slightly. So these are subtle changes that when we rush through an exercise, we miss. So we're moving a little bit more slowly. We're being a little bit more mindful. We're going to do 2 more here, and then we've got to do our rainbows. Last one, little external, little internal. Now let's do our rainbows. I'm going to keep my leg back there. I'm going to come up and over, slight external rotation, up and over, slight internal rotation, up and over, slight external, up and over, slight internal. Up we go. Woo! Feeling that work. Deep in that hip joint. Small movement. 2 more. 1 more time. Bringing that leg back and lowering it down. We're going to flip ourselves over and do all of this on the other side. So once upon a time, we started with our clams. So make sure that the feet are in line with the bum, reaching that top hip out, engaging that glute, and I'm lifting and lowering, finding that nice wrapping of the glute around that thigh bone to lift that leg up and down and up and down. Let's do about 3 more here. 2 and 1. We're going to come halfway down and up, halfway down and up. Just nice little pulses, a little bit of glute release, a little bit of activity. 3 more and 2 and 1 and down. Here's my internal rotation. So the knees are going to touch. I'm going to flex the foot, engage the leg, bring it back and down. I'm actually hitting my wall now. So I know that I can't really go any further, but I also know that I'm on a diagonal because I'm hitting pretty high up on that, that piece of furniture behind me. And 2 and 1, I gotta hold it back there. I gotta pulse it. 1, I gotta pulse it. 2, I gotta pulse it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We bring it down now. We're not gonna lower the foot down. We're gonna engage the glute and find that dolphin and release. Find the dolphin and release. And rotate and release. And release. Let's do this for 4. 3, 2, 1. Find that external rotation. Slowly lower that leg down. We're propping ourselves up. Back leg, or sorry, top leg is going to come back. Bottom leg is going to go nice and long. And I'm flexing my foot. I'm just going to lift and lower. So again, just doing a little bit of gentle midline, crossing my midline. So really getting that inside of the thigh bone active. 2 more. And 1. I'm going to slide my foot forward and back. Forward and back. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And of course, nice circles here. Nice little circles. 3, 2, and 1. Reversing those circles. Whoo. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we lie down. The beauty of the second side is it always seems to go just a little bit faster. Okay, so both legs are nice and long. I'm going to lift that top leg up. Here's my key, rotating in the lock. Key in the lock. Key in the lock. Whoo. 2, and 1. Now we have to do our little smiles. So I'm going to bring my leg forward first, and then as I lower and lift, feel that subtle shift that happens in the thigh bone as it rotates out and rotates in. Little tiny shifts. Doesn't take much. Up and down. 2 more here. We gotta do our rainbows. The rainbows are the real killer. 1 more time. Pause, up and down, up and back. Feel that little bit of natural external rotation, natural internal rotation, up and back, up and back. Tummy is nice and supported. Legs get a break after this, I promise. We are working the arms again. 2 more. 1 more. Bring that leg down. All right, you are going to need your light weights, chickpea cans, whatever you're using for a little bit of extra load today. All right, I'm just gonna sit on my knees. You are welcome to come all the way up onto your knees. You can also stand during this if the knees don't feel good. We're gonna tuck the elbows in and start with a classic rotator cuff. Classic rotator cuff. Actually, before I begin that, I'm just gonna kind of draw my shoulders up and back slightly, and then I'm gonna start just to bring my shoulders into a bit of a better position. And my elbows are tucked in because I really do want the movement to be happening from my shoulder joint. Although the elbow is typically the place where you're going to kind of notice the rotation the most. 2 more. And 1. Then I'm going to change my position to goalpost arms. So they're in my peripheral vision. I'm not too far back. And I'm going to internal and externally rotate. Now, for the internal rotation, you don't have to go past 90 if you don't want to. If this feels too stressful, going past that 90 degree, don't. Don't bother. You're getting the work done, working within that 90 degree space. If you feel you have the range of movement and you can sustain and maintain it, then you can try going just past 90. But I don't want the shoulders to end up here, okay? We are working the rotator cuff, not the upper trapezius. Last one. I'm just gonna bring my arms down. Woo, give myself a moment. We're gonna do one more little rotator cuff here, where I'm gonna tuck my elbows in by my side and then bring my elbows up. My arms are at 90 degrees. I'm going to bring one arm in front of the other, almost like I have genie arms now, and then back up. And then I'm gonna alternate the other arm in front and up. Just gently working that rotator cuff in a bit of a different position. If this feels stressful on the neck, drop the weight. A couple more. Whew, one last time. And then come on down. Last arm exercise before we finish today. I'm going to tuck my elbows in by my side. Take a breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to bring the arms out. Rotate my hands down. Lower the arms towards the floor. Keep those palms down as I come back up to 90. Rotate back to the ceiling. Bend the elbows back in. 3 more like that. We go out. We rotate down. Lower the arms all the way. Bring the arms back up. Rotate the palms to the ceiling and bend those elbows in. 2 more out. And exhale. Inhale it up. Rotate and in. Let's do that one more time. And up. Rotate and in. Now we're going to go up. So same way we begin. We are going out. Turn those palms down. Bring the arms up to the ceiling. Bring those arms down. Rotate back to the ceiling and then tuck them in. Palms up, palms down. Keep the palms down as you lift the arms up. Keep the palms down as you lower the arms. Rotate the palms up. Bend those elbows in. 2 more like this. We go out. Rotate those hands. Come back up. Lower with control. Turn the palms up and in. Last one. Inhaling down. Exhale. Inhale down. Rotate and in. Get rid of the weights. We are ending the way that we began, which is with our kneeling hinges. Come back on to the hands and knees. See if it's a little easier to find those externally rotated elbows to the back of the mat. Let's start in parallel and hinge back. See how it feels. Does it feel a little bit gooier in that hip joint? A little bit more fluid? Maybe those gears are not quite so cranky. One more time. I'm going to turn my legs out. Heels are coming, my feet are coming together. My legs are slightly turned out. Nice big wide bum. Out I go and in. Does it feel a little easier? couple more here. And then we're going to finish with that internal rotation. Here we go. We're going to turn the legs in. Now they do not have to touch. Feet are out. And doing that little internal rotation. And checking in with yourself here. When we did it at the beginning of the class, did it feel a little grippier? Did it feel a little like the gears were grinding a little bit? You can see my range of movement is not as great as the other two, but that's okay. I can really feel like I can move pretty fluidly through that internal rotation. I'm not feeling any grippiness. One more time here. And just for good measure, we're going to end in parallel. Just to be in parallel, just to reset the body a little bit. Last one. And then you can sit yourself all the way back. So there you have it, the internal and external rotation class. I hope that you use some of these exercises as preps before some of the other classes that you take, regardless of whether they're Pilates-based classes or not. It's nice to prepare the joints and prep the muscles with exercises like this. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in our next New to Pilates class.